The average person lives 30,000 days. That's all you get. If you're 30, you've already spent 11,000. If you're 45, you've burned through over 16,000. But it's not this number that's frightening. What's truly scary is that your brain is biologically programmed to erase these days from your memory. You've surely noticed how, as a child, one summer felt like a small eternity. Yet now entire years fly by like a single month. You blink and suddenly it's New Year's again. This isn't an illusion, nor is it simply old age. It's a glitch in your operating system, turning your life into a Groundhog Day loop. Right now you're living in fast-forward mode, completely unaware. We're going to crack this code. I'll give you a step-by-step biological guide on how to halt this process. But be warned, some steps will contradict everything you've been taught since childhood. To reclaim control over your life, we need to start by understanding how your brain deceives us. Recall your first day of school, or your first trip to the sea. You remember the smells, the sounds, the vivid images. Now, try to remember last Tuesday. What did you eat for lunch? Most likely there's just a blank. In neurobiology, this is called the paradox of time perception. The mechanism is simple. Your brain is a fuel-saving machine. When you're a child, the world is new to you. Your brain records everything onto its hard drive with maximum quality. Dopamine is released and new neural connections form. This density of recording makes time feel stretched out. But as you grow older, life often turns into a routine. The same breakfast, the same commute, the same faces, the same series in the evening. For your brain, this is old data. It's not efficient to spend energy recording it. It simply stamps repeat and turns off the camera. You physically lived that day, but for your memory, it doesn't exist. Routine is an eraser, wiping away your life. Many try to solve this by cramming their calendars with events. They attempt to do everything, starting to learn languages at night and running marathons. This is a major mistake because in trying to slow down time, they overlook another crucial resource. A resource 10 times more important than time, and without it, any attempt you make to change your life is just beating a dead horse. What is this resource? It's your biological energy. We've been conditioned to time management. We're told everyone has 24 hours in a day. That's a lie. 1 hour when you're full of vigor and your brain hums with clarity isn't equal to 1 hour when you're sitting like a vegetable, staring blankly at a monitor. Sound familiar? It's not laziness, nor is it weak willpower. It's biology. Your brain simply lacks the ATP molecules to initiate action. Trying to manage time when you have no energy is like pressing the gas pedal in an empty tank. You won't go faster, you'll just break the engine. So, the first rule of this guide, stop counting minutes and start counting units of energy. But there's a catch. Most people try to recharge completely wrong. They pump themselves full of coffee, stimulants, or motivational videos. That works like a high-interest loan. True energy doesn't come from what you consume, but from a cleansing process that occurs in only one state. If you ignore this process, your brain literally starts drowning in its own waste. You've heard the phrase, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." That's the fastest way to get there. Sleep isn't just rest or shutting down the system. It's an active phase of brainwashing. Inside your head, you have a glymphatic system. Imagine it like a nightly street cleaning. When you fall asleep, your brain cells physically shrink, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flush the spaces between them and wash away toxic proteins accumulated throughout the day. If you sleep less than 7 hours or your sleep is shallow, this cleaning doesn't finish. You wake up with toxins in your head. The result? Your prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for willpower and planning, operates at 30% efficiency. In this state, you're biologically incapable of making complex decisions. Your brain enters emergency mode. It chooses the simplest food, the most mindless entertainment, and the most primitive reactions. You become irritable and impulsive. You're not lazy, you're simply intoxicated by sleep deprivation. Restoring your sleep is fundamental. Without it, we can't move forward. But let's say you've slept well. You're full of energy. And this is where the modern world's trickiest trap awaits you. A trap that drains your accumulated energy in 15 minutes, leaving you empty and demotivated for the entire day. Have you ever woken up feeling refreshed, picked up your phone just to check a message, and then snapped out of it 40 minutes later, feeling broken and apathetic? Welcome to the dopamine loop. Our brains evolved in a world of scarcity. Food, news, social contacts, all had to be earned through effort. For acquiring these, the brain rewarded us with dopamine, the hormone of anticipation and motivation. Today, we live in a world of overabundance. Your phone is a pocket dealer of cheap dopamine. Likes, short videos, notifications, these are easy calories for your brain. The problem is, you have a limited daily supply of dopamine. When you flood your brain with this cheap surrogate first thing in the morning, you burn out your receptors. Your brain sees that a reward was obtained effortlessly and decides, why should I bother with challenging work, sports, or learning if I can get a high just by moving my finger? Consequently, when it's time to engage with real life, you simply lack the chemical fuel for motivation. You want to do something, but you feel physical resistance. To break free from this, we don't need willpower. We need to outsmart this mechanism using emotional hygiene techniques. And you must start with a rule that lasts only 90 seconds, yet changes everything. What is this rule? We've addressed energy. Now let's talk about where it leaks away. The main black hole for your strength is the endless rumination on emotions. Resentment towards your boss, fear for the future, an argument with your spouse that continues in your head for 3 days. In neurobiology, there's a fact that can liberate you. The chemical reaction of any emotion, be it anger, fear, or shame, lasts exactly 90 seconds, 1.5 minutes, in your body. That's how long it takes for cortisol and adrenaline to pass through your bloodstream and be flushed out. Everything that happens after 90 seconds is no longer physiology, it's your choice. You yourself restart this reaction, replaying thoughts in your head again and again. You're literally voluntarily taking poison, expecting someone else to suffer. This is called rumination, a mental blender, and it burns more glucose in your brain than solving a complex mathematical problem. The instruction here is simple. When you're overwhelmed, set a timer for 90 seconds. Breathe, and don't make any decisions. Just experience this chemical wave like a storm. Once the chemistry subsides, your prefrontal cortex, your reason, will return. But controlling your internal reaction is only half the battle. To conserve energy, you need to learn to ruthlessly cleanse your external environment. And here, a principle that frightens many comes into play. We were taught that to improve, you need to add something, new habits, new things, new knowledge. In biology, it works the opposite way. For a system to become healthy, you need to remove the superfluous. This is the via negativa principle, the path through subtraction. Your brain suffers from decision fatigue. Every morning you choose what to wear, what to eat, what post to read. Every single decision, even a minor one, costs you units of energy. By lunchtime, your willpower battery is already drained. That's why Steve Jobs wore the same turtleneck, and Barack Obama wore identical suits. They weren't boring, they were protecting their brains from trivial decisions. Your task isn't to add what's useful, but to cut out the noise. Right now, your life is cluttered with things you don't need, subscriptions that annoy you, and obligations you took on out of politeness. Clear your cache, unsubscribe from news you can't change, throw out clutter waiting for a special occasion. Learn to say no without explanation. When you remove the unnecessary, you suddenly find that very energy you've been searching for years. And now, with space cleared and your battery charged, the main question arises. Is it too late? Can your brain truly change at 40 or 50, or has the train already left the station? Neurobiologists' answer will surprise you. There's an old dogma. Nerve cells don't regenerate, and learning new things after 25 is almost impossible. This is a lie that makes you old before your time. Your brain is plastic until your very last breath. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to physically change its structure, works at any age. But there's a nuance. In childhood, neuroplasticity works automatically. The brain simply absorbs everything like a sponge. In adulthood, this tap is closed. To open it, you need 2 specific chemical keys: acetylcholine, which is focus and attention, and adrenaline, a sense of urgency or mild stress. The problem for adults isn't that the brain has ossified. The problem is that we love comfort too much. We do what we're good at, and for the brain, that's death. Development only happens where there's friction, mistakes, and discomfort. If you find it difficult, if you're struggling, if you feel like an idiot learning something new, rejoice. It's precisely at this moment, and only at this moment, that your brain rejuvenates. Want to live long? Seek discomfort. Learn what's challenging, break patterns. But there's a force that can nullify all your efforts. A force that acts like radiation, destroying your brain from the outside. And you need special protection from this force. The force that can destroy your brain from the outside is other people. And I'm not talking about bad character. I'm talking about mirror neurons. These are cells in your brain, evolutionarily designed to copy the state of those around you. If someone near you is in hysterics, stress, or apathy, your mirror neurons physically begin to reproduce the same chemistry in your head. You can't simply ignore this. You biologically synchronize with your environment. That's why toxic people aren't a metaphor. They're a source of infection. When you listen to a colleague's complaints or tolerate a relative's manipulations, you act as an energy feeder. You give away your dopamine and take on their cortisol. Your main task is to erect a barrier. If you can't physically leave, for example, if it's your boss or family, use the gray rock method. Become boring. Respond monosyllabically, uh-huh, I see, clear. Don't give an emotional reaction. As soon as the manipulator sees there's no food, your emotions, they lose interest and go looking for another victim. Protecting your brain from others' junk isn't selfishness, it's a safety measure. But if we cut off bad people, what about the good ones? Loneliness kills the brain even faster than stress. Your brain perceives loneliness as a threat to life. Background anxiety kicks in. I've been cast out of the pack. I'll die. This burns a colossal amount of resources. We need people, but we often invest in the wrong ones. We spend energy maintaining an image for those who don't care about us, and ignore those who are truly important. In neurobiology of connections, there are two types of contacts: strong ties, family, close friends. They provide oxytocin, the hormone of safety and peace. This is your support system. Weak ties, acquaintances, colleagues, casual friends. They offer novelty and opportunities. This is your growth. The mistake is to confuse them. We expect support from colleagues and try to lecture our loved ones. The rule is simple. Expand weak ties and deepen strong ones. Grand gestures aren't necessary. Relationships are built on micro-interactions. A quick message, a simple check-in, 5 minutes of undivided attention without your phone. For your brain, the stability of contact is more important than its intensity. When your support system is secure, you stop wasting energy on anxiety. And this is where resources are freed up to address the most painful topic. A topic that keeps millions of people in tension. Let's be honest about money. In a consumer society, money equals status. A new car, branded clothes, gadgets. In neurobiology, money is simply compressed energy and security. When you buy things, you fall into the trap of hedonic adaptation. The joy from a new phone lasts 2 weeks. Then your dopamine levels drop, and you want to buy again. It's a hamster wheel. Moreover, credit and debt create a constant background noise of cortisol. Your brain knows you're in bondage and keeps you in 24/7 combat readiness. The only biologically sound way to spend money is to buy freedom and absence of stress with it. Don't buy a thing to impress your neighbor. Buy time, delegate what you hate doing. Buy autonomy, a financial cushion that lets you tell a jerk boss where to go. Experiences, travel, and learning change your brain's structure. Things don't. Wealth isn't a number in an account. It's the ability to say no to what destroys you. It's the right to wake up in the morning and not go somewhere you feel bad. When you restructure your finances with this goal in mind, your anxiety level drops to 0. Now we have energy, a clear brain, protection from people, and financial clarity. But there's one last, most terrifying question. The question we ran from at the very beginning. Why all this? What's the point if the timer is still ticking? Now that we've fine-tuned the machine, let's talk about the root. 30,000 days. That number is frightening, but the fear of death is the only truly honest consultant in your life. There's a simple test that cuts through 99% of your imagined problems. It's called the finish line perspective. Imagine yourself at 90 years old. You're lying there, recalling your life. Will you regret not spending enough time in the office, not buying that specific car model, or saying no too often to people who used you? Of course not. At the end, people only regret 2 things. Living a life that wasn't their own, trying to please others, and never daring to do what they truly wanted out of fear of messing up. Use this filter today. When you're afraid to make a call, quit your job, or start a new venture, ask your 90-year-old self. The main mistake that traps people in a dead end is searching for a calling or a perfect plan. They wait for an epiphany. In neurobiology, it doesn't work that way. Your brain can't come up with solutions while sitting on the couch. The brain only learns from feedback from reality. Stop treating life like an exam you can't fail. Treat it like a laboratory. Don't know if a certain path is for you? Don't quit your job. Instead, launch a micro-project on the weekend. Unsure if someone is the right person? And don't build illusions. Observe them in a stressful situation. Clarity comes through action, not contemplation. You can't invent your ideal life. You can only feel your way through it, by trial and error. Mistakes aren't failures, they're data. The more hypotheses you test, the faster you'll find your path.